With the prospect of stay-at-home orders being lifted in the next few weeks, it's important that we shift our focus to welcoming customers back to in-restaurant dining. Today's webinar will identify 4 key areas of focus for your operation. First, I would like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Berry Global, who features an extensive line of value-added customized food and beverage protection solutions for takeout and delivery. For more information, please talk to your Shamrock Food sales representative. In today's webinar, we will take a closer look at current consumer trends and how they help to inform the readiness strategies of restaurant operators. Then we will outline 4 key areas of focus that will help to ensure a successful reopening to your community. And finally, we will showcase additional resources available to support you. Presenting today is Mike Stevens and Jeff Piven, both of Shamrock Foods. Mike is a Vice President of Business Consulting with Shamrock. He has over 30 years of owner, operator, and franchise executive experience. Joining him is Jeff Piven, Business Consultant with Shamrock. He has 20 years of restaurant management experience and currently consults customers in all areas of restaurant operations. Now let's take a look at some consumer trends from our partner Data Essentials to help set the stage. As people emerge from the COVID-19 crisis, they will ease into environments that provide a comfort zone. Although the idea of re-engaging with friends over food is exciting, there will still be some uncertainty. Consumers will need some time to test the waters. Even when given the okay, Americans will need to ease back into activities that just over a month ago weren't given a second thought. 35% of Americans say they are somewhat comfortable eating inside a restaurant dining area. Hotels were about the same. As an industry, part of our new role will be to ensure they feel secure in their decision to venture out. The new habits Americans have implemented in full force over the past month will be slow to fade. 50% say they will continue to do takeout and delivery. 52% will avoid buffets and salad bars, and 64% will still feel more comfortable if there is a bit of distance from others out in public. These are all important factors to consider when gearing up for the lift of stay-at-home orders. And finally, something we talk about a lot, sanitation and social distancing, need to be demonstrated at restaurants in a meaningful way, not something to be left to be assumed. Consumers need to see everything from frequent cleaning of high-touch areas to employees in safety apparel. The good news is that most of this should be business as usual, pandemic or not. Extra space between tables is something 50% of consumers will absolutely require, with another 30% of them thinking it would be helpful. Extra precautionary measures like contactless payment provide operators with an opportunity to offer extra reassurance as customers begin to rebuild trust. Now, using these consumer insights as inspiration, Mike and Jeff will walk you through the essentials when it comes to restaurant preparation for this next stage.
Thanks, Emily. As Emily said, we're going to talk about 4 different areas of the business. First off is preparing your space. Assuming a lowered guest capacity, either required by legal mandate or because just leery guests, how will you go about removing or limiting the access to tables, chairs, bar stools, waiting areas, and patios? Have you created a new table map for service and to support your host staff? Do you know how many fewer front of house employees it'll take to run a limited dining area and to man perhaps a designated to-go area? Given the heightened sense of sanitation and the post-pandemic customer will require, do you have new policies and procedures in place to tangibly and visibly show the customer your efforts to keep them and the staff safe? Assuming your customers will at least initially still desire takeout, do you have the infrastructure in place to handle that? The wayfinding you put in place during the pandemic needs to reflect the current changes to in-house dining. In the new no-touch or low-touch world, customers will be drawn toward restaurants that embrace those practices. Have you considered online ordering, touchless payment, mobile pay, automatic faucets, auto-flush toilets, plexiglass sneeze guards between customers and guests? Jeff, you have some thoughts on this.
Right. So what we really need to focus on right now is identifying places where within our customer journey, from their door of their car through how they experience our brand and back out to their car where no touch or low touch needs to be enhanced. First and foremost, I want to talk about online order taking and touchless payment. I want to get touchless payment in play right now because some of these items have a 2 to 3 week lead time and they need to be addressed right now. Touchless payment is going to be a big part of the future state of the restaurant business. These platforms are readily available from many payment processing companies, but specifically Heartland and First Data, as well as Square, are some of the ones that I looked at and are ready to go today. In the interim, perhaps consider using Venmo or Zelle to allow customers to pay directly from their phones, and then just simply create a payment tender button in your POS system to help keep track of those payments at the end of the day. Back to Mike.
The next area we're going to talk about is product preparation. You've streamlined your menu during the takeout and delivery phase. Some of these items might be good additions to your permanent menu. There's going to be a desire from the public for family-style meals. Takeout's going to continue, and delivery might be something that will linger. Consider easing back into your full menu until you're back to full capacity and fully staffed, and more importantly, fully trained. Again, customers are going to be leery and probably return to your dining room at a different pace. To even out cash flow and get ahead of stocking needs, consider ordering sanitation supplies, paper goods, dry goods, and frozen items now so that you can focus on the fresh items as you get closer to your opening days. A streamlined, concise, brand-forward menu is an advantage when it comes to ramping back up to full staff and full capacity. Jeff, do you have some thoughts on that also?
100%. So keeping the menu concise and tight around what we're really good at is what we need to focus on today. This is going to be critical for creating shorter, less prep-heavy operations in the kitchen. You're going to need to turn around and then program your POS and online ordering platforms to reflect those new menus, as well as helping you create new order guides with your Shamrock representative, inventory sheets, so we're keeping tight controls on our products and how we're using them, but also looking at integrating takeout for the long term. This service style isn't going to go anywhere. As you saw from the slide that Emily showed you, 50% of folks are not wanting to come in to eat at the restaurant, so be ready for takeout and delivery today. Think about your menu and what are we best at? What are our points of differentiation between us and our competitors? What is our why? Those are the items that are going to make the cut on the new menu. Take a look at an old P-mix and take this opportunity to cut some of those dogs on your menu. Labor cost and availability also is going to be a consideration, as those are going to be really, really tight, which we'll cover in just a minute. So are we using our prep labor and our cook labor efficiently? What's the fewest number of people or hours that I can run this menu with in my kitchen? Can I reduce the amount of stations? These are some of the thoughts we need to be doing today. Mike.
Thanks, Jeff. A streamlined menu requires less staff to execute, so that kind of turns us towards staffing. So you should consider that when planning for your staffing needs. Other things to consider at this point is getting your onboarding process streamlined. You've got to get new I-9s, 8850 forms. There's other payroll paperwork that needs to be getting into the system. So you need to plan how you're going to do that and do it efficiently. You can plan on takeout and delivery to continue. When your dining room is in full swing, do you have the right mix of staff to accommodate all forms of dining? Consider what the shift should look like in order to maximize profitability. And then when you're restaffing the restaurant and bringing people on board, please pay attention to the fact there's going to be a high sensitivity towards food sanitation, food safety. The restaurant industry is forever changed. You have to develop new onboarding and training tools that emphasize sanitation and epidemic prevention. As a side note, ServSafe now has a COVID-19 precautions class. Guest-facing employees will now be the sanitation ambassadors for your restaurant. Do they have the proper training to demonstrate and talk about the best industry standard methods? If you've had to part way with a lot of your guests, with a lot of your staff, now is the time to check in and see if they would consider returning. Jeff?
Thanks. The most important piece here, I believe, is reaching out to the staff and seeing who's coming back and what people are up to. Take an old schedule. Let's track who's coming back and who has moved on. The thing about this CARES Act is that they've significantly fortified the unemployment benefits, making it difficult to compel employees to come back to work. Now, whether you had great relationships with your employees or not, you want to reach out to them personally and see who's going to come back. If there's a significant number of folks who are not coming back, it's time to fire up the recruitment platforms. Be sure to advertise that your work environment is not only fun, inclusive, but above all else, safe to come back to work in. Next, you'll want to create a ramp-up schedule, which is basically a timeline for the activities, meetings, and preparation type shifts leading to the grand reopening date. Now, I emphasize that because I want to start thinking about a specific day, whenever that may be, to look forward and plan, okay, how many days between then and now do I have, and plan my daily activities around that schedule. In new store opening, which is my background, in strategy around that, that's called critical path, the time leading up to when we're going to open and planning something for each and every day, starting specifically with staff. Mike?
Jeff mentioned the re-grand opening, so let's take a moment and talk about our fourth topic today, which is promotion. We need to make sure that we're updating our operating hours. You need to update those on your website, on social media, on Google. Give some thought to how you're going to enhance your social media presence and content to reflect higher sanitation standards. Customers are really interested in your sick time policies now. How are you going to communicate those to your customers as they start to re-engage? Consider a plan for grand reopening with special touch points, maybe special decor, giveaways, bounce back promotions, live music, and how are you going to advertise your newly enhanced sanitation processes and along with content on your social media platforms?
All right, that's going to cap us off here. We're going to just quick review what our priorities are. First and foremost, developing a staffing plan, reaching out today to see who's coming back, and then plan for who's not coming back and who we really need to come back. Next is identifying low or no touch needs. The priority there is going to be looking at our touchless payment systems, because engaging with those systems is a longer process than you may think, and may take a couple weeks to get those programs or those pieces into our restaurant and ready to go. And then finally, our menu plan. So getting a concise brand forward menu is going to connect to how we staff, how we buy, what we buy, and all of those things in between. So getting that menu ready to be released is my first priority here as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I'm going to pass it back to Emily.
Great, thank you both so much. So for more information about the content that Mike and Jeff were able to share with you, please visit our website at shamrockfoodservice.com and go to our COVID resources page. There in the restaurants resources section, you'll see a preparing for COVID, or post-COVID rather, PDF. There, it's in the red box there on the screen. And be sure to visit our latest articles as well. You'll find a helpful guide to begin preparing for Mother's Day. And be sure to follow us at Shamrock Foods on Facebook and Instagram for instant access to our resources and tools. If you have any questions or comments about today's webinar, or if there are resources you would like to hear about in the future, please see your Shamrock Food sales representative or email us at kitchenintelligence@shamrockfoods.com. Thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for your partnership.